Alrighty, well, I think we've given enough time here to let people jump in if they need to. I'm sure more will file in as we continue on, but I don't want to keep the people we have here waiting. So yeah, thank you for coming out here to spend your Tuesday evening with us. We're going to talk about Yellowlite, which we are a solar panel installation company here, headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio. Um, and we just want to give you kind of a rundown of what we do. Um, we install solar panel systems. We give you an idea of how solar works, very basic, like high level, and then also talk about how you can purchase the system, get in contact with us, all the basic details that you might need if you are interested in taking that next step and learning about solar for the potential of having it installed on your home, business, nonprofit organization that you happen to be involved in. We do all kinds of work all around the state of Ohio. We do some work in southern Michigan, in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, even Indiana on this, the Ohio side of the state. So, we have quite a long reach. So if anyone is interested in, getting info and getting a quote for a solar panel system, this will give you kind of a good idea of what to expect. And then if you want to take it further, just reach out to our team, and then we'd love to reach out and give you a custom quote for whatever situation you happen to be in. So thanks again for jumping in here, um, and let's get into it. So a little bit about Yellowlite. I kind of gave you some details, but we are the largest residential solar installation company in Ohio. We've been in business since 2009, and since 2009, we've installed about 2,500 solar panel systems. So, we do a lot, and we're rapidly growing. So we're expected to do even more every single year that we've been doing business here. We are headquartered in Cleveland, like I said earlier, and this year alone, our projects offset about 23 million pounds of CO2. So, just from our small footprint, in the grand scheme of things, we've offset millions of pounds of CO2. And then, here's an idea of, or some pictures of some installations that we've done recently in the Ohio area. You can see the top two systems are residential arrays using some nice all black solar panels here. And these are looking at, some pretty high offsets for these homes, generating most of the energy the house needs, thus, reducing what their electric bills would look like on those properties. You can see the bottom left is also a residence. Pretty nice cohesive array there, right on the lake, on Lake Erie there. And then the one in the middle is a nonprofit organization, a church that we did an installation for. A lot bigger system because their electrical consumption in the building was a lot higher. And then on the far right, we have a more unique system that's a ground-mounted array that we did in more of a rural area of Ohio. And if you have a lot of land space and your roof isn't ideal for solar because of shading or the amount of roof area you have, a ground mount, can be a really good option for you. It allows us to put the array in the yard wherever, face it perfectly south, which is the ideal direction, so it captures as much sun as possible. And then I want to pass off the mic here to one of our senior solar consultants, Gatsby, and he can kind of give you a rundown about our Yellowlite, our process. So here you go, Gatsby. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Hi, everybody. And yeah, just to mention that quick disclaimer there, in no way is Yellowlight a tax expert. So yeah, from here, solar advice only as regards to the investment tax credit for solar energy. So to kind of open things up and talk about Yellowlight's process, we pretty well would begin the inquiry, whether you have come to Yellowlight either as a referral, as many people do, or through our website, like an internet ad. First and foremost, we want to check in on the site, and we're going to do that just using the available aerial imagery. So looking at the most recent image from Google Maps, checking in on the feasibility for solar, and getting a good idea of whether or not that's going to be a good idea for the homeowner. When we're doing that, really what we mean is what we're looking at is the overall exposure. So the level of shade, whether or not there's enough roof space, maybe the roof might be have a unique design where there's just many facets and characteristics to the roof where solar panels might not fit so easily. So there can be quite a bit to the conversation when it comes to feasibility. So we like to open that up and get to know the project that the homeowner might have in mind and get a sense of what might be possible. And from there, we are going to measure the electricity need. And so in order to do that, we want to obtain the electricity bill. And on that bill, typically it's described on a month-to-month basis what sort of electricity usage we can expect for the home. And then from there, we're going to build that into our proposal. And that is pretty well going to give us the solar array sizing or how many solar panels is going to be needed in order to offset that energy use in that given year. So from there, we are going to hand things over to our engineering department who will assess and give an analysis for what we can expect from the system to perform given its characteristics. So given the setup with panel distinction, inverter selection, um, orientation, et cetera, all of those factors combined with what we can expect for the exposure will give us what we can expect for the overall consumption offset. And you can see that term mentioned here on the solar details on this mock-up for this proposal. So this was a real system that was installed. You can kind of see the details here of the array. This particular system set up with micro inverters and 400-watt solar panels. We got plenty of exposure here. I'm not worried about anything in the way of shade. As you can see, there's no trees that are any taller than the home's highest point on the roof. And so, yeah, the idea here, we've got full exposure. So you could really go either way when it comes to inverter selection. And that'll be another point that we get into here as we kind of go on through. Yeah, here's another screenshot here of what we can expect from that quote. You can see the system peaking, the blue bars being their highest in those summer months. And obviously, that's what we can expect for our general area being in the northeast part of the United States. And looking here, this pretty well describes what we can expect for the system's performance against the cost of electricity and the result in the first year for saving. So the system offering quite a bit at about $2,300 for the first year. But you can see there the offset there for this homeowner being a little bit more than your annual energy need met. And then here you can see the project costs, what you can expect for relevant system size. I did check again, though this quote I believe was made a couple years ago when we were using 400-watt panels. We're now using 410-watt panels. I think this may have been from 2023, if not from 2022. But this pricing obviously will vary to some degree, but this should be pretty accurate looking at the solar energy system size. And then you can also see the investment tax credit, 30% of that. So just some quick details on the investment tax credit. It is a single form that you would file in the year that the system is installed. So just to be clear, system needs to be installed operational before it can be claimed. There have been quite a few updates to the investment tax credit thanks to the pardon me, I'm at a loss for words on the bill. Kevin, do you remember the name on
Inflation
that?
Reduction Act.
Thank you. I was looking for the word inflation. Appreciate that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I got
quite a
you.
bit involved with now the opportunity for nonprofits and otherwise tax exempt entities to now take advantage of that tax credit where they can pass it along to another eligible tax entity. So if anybody here, if they know anybody, nonprofit, church, or anything like that, that might be interested in solar energy, we'd be happy to put together a proposal just the same way we would for any homeowner. So yeah, just a quick note on the tax credit. That is the largest incentive. It's not as if you need to do anything special in order to qualify. As long as you have tax liability on a federal schedule, you can take advantage of the tax credit.
Yeah, even a nonprofit who doesn't pay any federal income tax can actually get a direct payout from the federal government from their investment on renewable energy. So it's a really interesting time because throughout the last 30 years of solar, that hasn't been possible. So if you know a nonprofit who's interested in this, it's a great time. They're going to get 30% of the total investment right back to them, which is kind of unheard of in any investment really. So
And then getting into some of the basics on the installation process. So during the consultation process, once a homeowner and the consultant here at Yellowlite, once you have come to an agreement on the system setup and design, pretty well from there, we would move forward with a tentative agreement that is outlining the equipment and what is to be installed. And from here, we are looking to begin the project. And so that all starts with a site visit. And during that site visit, we are doing an evaluation of the electrical characteristics for the home, and then also making sure that the design intended is going to fit on the roof space that we are looking at in real time. So really, we're just looking to confirm that our proposal is defining everything that we expect for the scope of work in the project. If there's anything that's discovered during that site visit, we can always update the proposal to call for those updates. If there are, for instance, costs like updating a service panel, or if there are any kind of costs required for kind of updating the electrical characteristics to make them in code and make them compliant with the system. So from there, if there's nothing else that needs to be discussed in terms of overall costs, we would pretty well begin and set the project on tracks. And that begins with enacting the permit with the authority having jurisdiction or your municipality in this instance, and then any kind of application required with the utility, which is typical really with any kind of grid-tied solar energy system. That timeline between approval for permit and interconnection can take about 2 months, as there is kind of a boom in new builds. We're finding is a lot of municipalities are a bit backlogged in their permit process. So that is pretty well the longest segment in the whole installation timeline. So beyond that, from start to finish, from sign on date, we expect about 120 days to complete, if not sooner. So that is something that Yellowlight's pretty excited to see happen in 2024, moving from 120 days to hopefully 90. So here you can get an idea of kind of the skeleton of what makes up the rail that connects the solar panels to the roof. In this case, we have a standing seam metal roof, and you can see how this rail system is attached here, pretty well just clamping onto that ridge. And then you can see those individual devices here. That is what is called a micro inverter. This is an individual inverter that's attached to the back of each panel. This offers some advantage, and we'll get into that here in the next couple slides when we talk about inverter selection. But yeah, you get a good idea of what this device looks like. It's not very big at all, and once the panels are on top of it, you won't pretty well be able to see it at all either. Nice aerial image of the completed installation. And then we'll get into which inverter is going to best suit you. So It's interesting in that last image, we were just looking at a microinverter, and a microinverter it does what its name implies. So it is inverting on a micro level or on an individual level, panel level basis, where the DC energy that is being generated by solar energy is being converted. So that's happening right there at the panel site. All of those micro inverters are pretty well communicating together, and it is measuring any imbalances across the array or the group of panels together. And the advantage here is if there's a blemish or any kind of cloud cover on one particular panel, it will not weigh down or cause an imbalance on the power of the rest of the panel's output. And that is pretty well the largest advantage of a microinverter, including the manufacturer warranty. By comparison, 25 years to 12 years to a string inverter, having double the lifetime in terms of warranty length, that means a lot to a lot of homeowners. And so that point alone is enough for people to pretty well choose to go with a microinverter, but it's pretty well in designation in the case where you have multiple pitch orientations. So if you have a design where a group of solar panels might be facing east, another facing south, another facing west, another facing maybe slightly southwest, and then maybe a tree over a particular roof, then I would say a microinverter would be a great choice. Now, on the other side, a string inverter would be for the alternative
Hey,
when we
Gatsby.
have, yeah.
Don't mean to cut you off. I just want to, let everyone know. Uh, Danny did say this in the chat, but it's good to note that, Danny, if you can go back a few slides, that system that we are talking about in the quote is also, the same system that we're referencing here with these installation pictures. So you kind of getting an idea, kind of a unique standpoint or a unique, viewpoint of a system, when it's getting quoted to the customer, you guys, and then the pricing, all that stuff, and then here we are, a few slides later, a few months later, installing the system, and then you see it when it's fully completed as well. So you can kind of see, get an idea of how these systems are going to translate from the quote that you see to the actual installation on the roof, and this gives you a great idea of how that happens. Gatsby's giving you that step-by-step process, but it's really hard to beat kind of seeing it, happen in real time on this roof. It really is almost a one-to-one representation of what we are showing you in our quote versus what's going to be put on the roof. So I think that's a really important distinction. And I also wanted to, tap you out and get Nick in here as well. That way he can, do part of the presentation as well. I know you love doing these things, but we do want to do like a 50-50 split. So Nick, if you want to take it to, I believe we're at string inverters. So you can take it from there. Nick is one of our most prolific consultants here at Yellowlite. He just actually, a few minutes ago got a customer who's getting a 63 panel system to move forward with us. So we're really excited. It's even bigger than the one that we're talking about in this quote. It's going to offset about 2 to 3 homes worth of electricity on a yearly basis. So really exciting. Nice work there. And yeah, you can kick us off.
Well, thank you for that incredible introduction. Thank you, Gatsby, for all that information. And yeah, that sale that just went through, it was a large system with a lot of kids in the house, a lot of electricity. So he's going to see like a 6 to 7 year payback based on current electricity rates. So jumping back into the presentation here, the string inverter is like the microinverter's older brother. So string inverters were easier and simpler and kind of developed before microinverters. So instead of an inverter on each panel, there's one large inverter and you just string all the panels together. So essentially there's less components. One point of failure, which could be a pro or a con. Here we'll go through those pros and cons. And these string inverters are great at producing energy on unshaded roofs. So that is where their pros come into play with less components, lower cost. They're more efficient since they're one large inverter inside, usually in a climate controlled area. They're going to be bigger and more capable of transferring that DC output to AC so that your house can use it. And like I said, unshaded, because that one inverter cannot deal with different panels getting different production. So if there's, one big array and no shading, that's where we like to install these. Like I said, one point of failure. So if the inverter breaks down, your whole system is down. Whereas with the microinverters, we would just place one of the microinverters and it wouldn't implement the other strings of panels or microinverters. So they also have a shorter warranty period, unfortunately. In that sense, the microinverters have the longest warranty on the market, but these are easier to install and less expensive. So maybe that's one reason why the warranty isn't as long, but still a great option. Definitely the cost benefit analysis way to go for that quicker return on investment. And then we'll jump into the money. So we do have a few different lease and financing options. The credit union we usually use, they're a nonprofit, so straightforward group of people organizing loans for renewable energy, and they also have your conventional banking options as well. So they're nice to work with. You don't pay until your system's installed, so you have 60 days after installation before those payments start, and you don't have to put up your house as collateral or anything like that. So the collateral is the solar array, which is nice, and there's no prepayment penalties, and they really do have some of the best interest rates on the market. And we all know interest rates are not ideal right now, but if you're saving a couple $100 every month with the solar payment, and that's paid off in say 7 or 12 years, a lot of people are jumping on board with that secured payment instead of the everly increasing electric bills. And then we have yet to secure all the details on the solar lease because they kind of just were introduced in Ohio. So from what we know, there's no fees and all construction management is provided. So you're just leasing the system. You don't have to worry about upfront cost or maintenance. And you really don't need like a hard inquiry with a full credit report to be approved, which is nice. So it will allow a lot of people maybe who wouldn't be approved for conventional financing methods that still want solar can go through with the lease, and then they absorb the tax credit. So if you're unable to get that tax credit or retired, this could be helpful for you as well. And you do own the energy that is produced, but you don't have to worry about owning the system. So you don't have to worry about any problems that really happen down the road. That's taken off through the lease company as well as Yellowlite. So kind of like a nice way to step back, but also produce your own renewable energy. So then honestly, this year, most people have been going with the cash purchase. You get that return on investment almost immediately and don't have to pay interest. So a lot of people with extra cash are seeing, a 12% return from a solar installation, whereas the market might be less or a savings account might be less. So those financially savvy people are actually signing up to lock in a renewable energy source instead of paying for a increasing electric bill. And then you also get that 30% tax credit, which you can either use to pad your bank account or invest otherwise. So definitely gives you a lot of flexibility there. And then you don't have to worry about interest rates or refinancing or anything like that down the road. And we're back to Kevin here to review some questions and answers.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the the meat of the presentation here, we wanted to give everyone a rundown of what it's like to be a customer of Yellowlite, all the, different parts and pieces that you guys would be seeing as customers as you go through our process, from getting a quote to signing an agreement with us, going through permitting, getting an installation, and then obviously before that would be, your purchasing options and technology and all that stuff. So I hope this was informative to everybody. Anyone who is interested in, getting more information from us, please feel free to leave your information, your contact info in the Q&A section. It is private, and we will, have either Nick or Gatsby reach out to you probably tomorrow, I would imagine, since it's, a little later in the evening tonight. But what they can do is reach out to you and provide a custom, solar panel quote, just like we showed here in the presentation. And if anyone else has any specific questions for us that they would like to ask, I know we give a very high overview of the solar process, how solar panels work, all that stuff. If you have any more in-depth questions, feel free to, toss a question out, and we'd love to answer it for you. We have a lot of experience, in this group. I've been in the industry for about 10 years. Gatsby's been in for 5 years, and then Nick has been in for 3. So, overall, we're pretty huge bulk of experience you can leverage. But if there are no questions, we appreciate everyone's time here and, the interest in renewable energy. Our goal, first and foremost, is to install as many solar panel systems as possible. We want to offset as much CO2 as we can, and our goal is to do it the right way by being honest to our customers, teaching them about how it works, educating them about their investment and what they can do, and then installing a system of the highest quality. So thanks again, and we're going to hang back for a minute if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, thank you very much for attending our webinar here, and I'm sure we'll be hosting more throughout the year. So look out, keep checking your email. I'm sure we're going to be doing one next month, potentially with a different topic. Hopefully we're going to get some more action on leases in Ohio, and we can give kind of more info on that, which will be exciting. Kind of unlock a new portion of our new demographic for us to kind of look to install solar panels for. Yeah, and I believe we did send an RFQ form through to everyone, so you can use that actually to put your information if you are interested in getting a quote or getting in touch with us. If you want to ask questions in a more one-on-one manner, that is completely fine as well.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for joining, and maybe we'll hear from you soon.
Yeah, we definitely look forward to it. Hopefully we can get you guys, set up with a solar panel system, or if you already have one and you're in this, feel free to, take this information to family, friends, whoever. We love to talk to anyone. We do have a pretty generous referral bonus program that we offer. So if you know someone who is interested in solar, you get us in contact with them and they get a system installed. Not only will we give you a gift card right away when you send us the person's contact info, but we'll also give you a pretty solid payout once the system is installed. I believe the minimum is $500, and that can go all the way up to $2,000, depending on how big of a system they end up getting installed. We rely heavily on our customers for spreading the word of solar. But yeah, thanks again, and we appreciate everyone attending. We'll see you in the next one.